So what I thought was interesting is when I think of Godzilla, rampaging through this defenseless city, just terrorizing people. This was different. This was humans getting together saying we have to take out Godzilla, getting a battle plan in place, and then really hunting Godzilla with futuristic high-tech weaponry. So it was a bit of hunted becomes the hunter. It's like Godzilla, Revenge of the Humans. So the premise is Godzilla and other monsters ravaged the Earth, so some humans fled in a spaceship. And since they were traveling so fast in space, time slowed down for them in a sense. So even though not that many years has passed by for them, 10,000 years has actually passed by back on Earth. So the Earth is 10,000 years older. And there's also two different species of aliens on board. There's one alien race that they came to Earth when all this destruction was going on, and they said, look, our own planet got destroyed. If you let us stay here on your planet, we'll build this other Godzilla to fight the Godzilla that's terrorizing you now. That didn't end up working. And then there's also another alien race. They have this weird philosophy / religion that's kind of vague, and no one really knows quite what it is. And they don't really explore it too much. I thought it was very interesting. They could have gotten more into the different alien philosophies. Hopefully we get that in future installments. But what's interesting is the humans and the aliens on the spaceship, they don't trust each other. There may be some space cabin fever. There's this mission to colonize a planet, and some people think it's all just a scheme to depopulate some of the ships so whoever's remaining can actually have more resources. So there's a lot of suspicion and there's a lot of tension. Now, a lot of the time the movie does feel like those cutscenes that you skip in video games. There's a lot of just rapid back and forth, jargon flying back and forth about science and weapons and battle formations. And they do this neat trick where they squeeze even more jargon out. By one character will say, drop the barometric bombs, and the other character will say, Roger, dropping the thermonuclear warheads. Like, they'll use two different phrases for something just to try to get as many quasi-scientific terms as possible. You do get a lot of cool military hardware. You had hover bikes, you had mech suits, kind of the last Matrix movie, a bunch of other cool weapons and ships, and some really cool monsters that I didn't expect. So you do get not a lot of other monsters, but some cool monsters, and the Earth reminds you a lot of kind of a prehistoric time where dinosaurs ruled the Earth. So at times it felt like they were combining a Star Trek vibe where you're looking at a screen and barking out orders and scientific jargon, and then also a Star Wars vibe where there's all these futuristic weapons and vehicles and kind of these epic space battles. And I will say, I feel like we got so much dialogue about the technical specifics of the battle plans and of the weapons and of what they were going to do to fight Godzilla. We didn't get as much dialogue kind of between the characters, fleshing them out where we get to know them, so I thought the characterization wasn't the greatest. We did get some cool discussion of Godzilla though, one of them saying he can't have multiplied, he's a unique genetic aberration, or he defies every law of biology. We know we can't deny that he might be immortal, so talk about the actual specifics of Godzilla in more of a biological sense, but then also in a philosophical sense. One of the aliens is like, look, every species that eventually thinks itself superior and gets too much hubris is eventually struck down by something like Godzilla, kind of talking about Godzilla as this divine punishment for our arrogance. And then the design we actually see of Godzilla, I have mixed feelings about it. It doesn't move a lot, basically creaks his neck, that's about the only movement we see. And in some sense it's a bit underwhelming, but in others it's kind of cool to see just the awesome devastation that a creature can inflict with so little effort. So my overall thoughts, there was some potential and some things I'd like to see them flesh out more. I'd like to see more about the aliens, kind of compare and contrast the different philosophies and motives, what they want to do about Godzilla, how they want to go about defeating him. And I like the futuristic setting. I like anything from the future. It adds kind of an interesting wrinkle, and I like that it gives humans these more futuristic weapons, more of a fair fight against Godzilla. But I really hope they add more characters that are memorable and you can kind of really feel invested in. You never really cared too much about any particular characters. So yeah, it was cool seeing the spectacle of Godzilla and the advanced weaponry, but I never felt really emotionally invested in the story. Like, oh, I'm terrified this character is going to die because I've, grown to love them so much. So I hope they do that, but I'll definitely watch part 2 and 3. I thought this was enough to make me want to see more.